friends, I'm Kyla and welcome back to the Infinite Library. So I've had this little project in mind for a while now, and I was partially inspired by Gavin Reads It All, who did a little manga tournament where they read 30 manga in 30 days. They've also done like a 24-hour one as well. I love the idea of just trying a whole bunch of different manga that you've wanted to check out for a while and just trying them all out in this way, and because it's always fun to do them, do a little ranking as well. So I've picked 30 manga, some of which are ones I've just been meaning to get around to for like ages, some that have just piqued my interest and some that I've been hearing a lot of hype about in the last couple of like months to years or so that I feel like I should really check out. I think I've been struggling with manga recently. I'm really not up to date with like what's new, what's coming out, and I used to be such a big manga reader, so I'm kind of hoping this will kickstart me getting back into a bunch of series and trying a bunch of series. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using a random generator to determine the order of how I read these, just because it's fun, and I'll kind of be vlogging my experience as I'm reading through them, and then I'll have like a little ranking, but it might end up being a bit of a tournament where I pit them against each other. And then I think whichever ones are kind of like the top 3, 4 to 5 or so manga will be the ones I carry on throughout the rest of the year. So here are the selections that I have. I have maybe half of these physically and the other half I have digitally, just because I wasn't going to buy all of these. Some of these are very kindly borrowed to me by a friend. Some I've managed to get from the library, and then the rest I've just had to kind of source online. So these are the ones that I'm going to read. I'm not going to go massively into synopsises right now because I'll be doing that whilst I'm reading them, but I've tried to get a good array of genres. So first we have Our Dreams at Dusk by Yuki Kamatami. This is a slice of life drama that follows a whole bunch of people that are all in the LGBT community. So really interested about this one. I have volume 1 of The Apothecary Diaries, which is very popular right now, particularly among a bunch of my friends since the anime has been airing. And it is a historical about a girl who ends up becoming like a courtesan, and she is more interested in being an apothecarist basically. But I've heard really good things about this. I have a really old one. This was lent to me by my flatmate actually, because they have the whole series, and it is Magical Miracle. I don't know a whole lot about this one. It gives me magical girl vibes. But basically, this person goes to the school, which is like supposed to be one of the best schools in the kingdom, but the master magician goes missing, and apparently the main character looks very similar to this great magician, so they end up kind of stepping in for them. So yeah, it's a fairly old series, I think. I can't remember when this first came out. But the art's really cute, and I'm always game to honestly try all the series that don't get as much hype. So, Magical Miracle. Then we have Frieren, Beyond Journey's End. This is another one that's quite popular at the moment. I've heard it's very good. The anime has just finished, I believe, but it is getting another season. So yeah, really excited to get to this. Then we have Classmates, also known as Dokusai. This is a older BL. I know now they made a movie of this recently, and the art is really different and unusual, I think. So yeah, I've heard good things about this one, but I don't really know a whole lot, other than that it was good enough to get a movie. I then have The Girl from the Other Side. I love how atmospheric this is. This was completely a cover buy, and this is like, I think it's going to be like a dark fairy tale fantasy kind of thing. Then we have another BL. We have Seaside Stranger. This is giving me kind of slice of life BL vibes, so yeah, it looks very summery. I then have Mashal, Magical Muscles. Probably the only, well, it's not the only action shown in this list, but I don't tend to go for those as much recently. But this is kind of like a comedy action about this guy who goes to a magic school, but he doesn't really do magic, but he's very strong, so he just does it that way instead. Hoping it'll be a good time. Then we have A Man and His Cat, which I think is just going to be freaking adorable. Really excited to read this one. It's also very short for a manga. This is one of my friend's favourites at the moment. We have the first volume of Villains Are Destined to Die. This is in full colour because I believe it's like a webtoon originally, and it looks absolutely stunning. I love this whole like villainess manga thing we're doing at the moment. I much prefer it to the other isekais going around at the moment. So yeah, excited to read this. I have another one that's been quite popular recently, Witch Hat Atelier. I've heard nothing but good things about this, so I hope I love it. I have the first volume of Monster. Funny thing is that you cannot find these like single volumes anymore. They pretty much only do the omnibus, like, master editions now, which are stunning, don't get me wrong, but like I found this at a convention to bring them by, and I just had to get it straight away because I wanted to try this series for ages. So yeah, monster. And the last of the physicals I have is Doubt. This one is an omnibus. I actually didn't realise when I ordered this it was going to be an omnibus. I ordered it and it was like fairly cheap, and I just assumed it was going to be volume 1. It is not. It is like the first 2 volumes or so. But it is kind of like a survival horror sort of thing, and I've heard good things about it. So excited to get to that. So for the digital ones, I'm going to go and get my laptop for this one so I can see exactly what I've got to read. Okay, so for the remaining ones, I'll just put little pictures here for those ones because I don't have them physically to show you. But I have Blue Period, which is, I can't remember if it's BL or not, but it's kind of a slice of lifey thing. About a boy who's an artist. A Banana Fish, which is more of like a mafia action kind of thing, but I know it's also got some BL stuff going on in it. Toilet Bound Hanako-kun, which is not a title I ever would have thought would draw me to it, but the art is really cute and I actually heard really good things about it, so I'm gonna give it a try. Skip to Loafer I have, which sounds like it's just going to be kind of like a fun rom-com kind of thing, and I'm not really big into rom-coms, but the characters sound really fun in this one. Like, it's about like this really lazy girl that has to like survive in the city, and she's used to being in the countryside, I think, and this boy that's trying to like make her be a bit more dependent, I suppose. It sounds fun though. Then we have Blame, which is a horror action, I think, one I've wanted to check out for a while now. Probably the one that I'm most suspect of, that I think I'm not gonna like next, is Assassination Classroom. This is like a shonen kind of battle royale kind of series, which I do like battle royale stuff, but the characters don't really appeal to me from what I've seen from this one, but I have had people really rate it highly. So yeah, I'll give it a try and see if it's good. Seven Seeds, I think it's an older series. I believe it's a sci-fi. I honestly can't remember much about it at this moment in time, so I'll tell you about it more when I read it. But it's been on my list for years, so I feel like I should just get to it. Flowers of Evil, this is more of a psychological drama. I can't even say it. Yu Yu Hakusho. This is by the same author as Hunter x Hunter, which I really like. I don't really know a lot about this one, except I believe it's to do with like demons and demon hunting and stuff. I thought I'd try it out. Then we have Blood on the Tracks, which has been getting a lot of buzz recently. It's a dark psychological story, I believe. Don't know if I'm gonna like it or not, but I've heard people really rate it high, so I thought I'd give it a shot. Then we have Claymore, which is a very old dark fantasy series about these like warrior women. So this is the only one that I have read before, but I read only the first volume of this series before, and it was back when I just started reading manga, so I didn't really get on with it at that time, but I wasn't really as into dark stories back then. I don't remember a damn thing, so it's always been one that I keep kind of thinking about though, so I just want to give it another shot essentially. Then we have Oshinoko, which I've heard a lot about. I don't know if I'm going to like it. If it's going to be too fanservice-y, I'm going to get put off. But I'm really interested by it, and it's got an absolutely crazy premise, and the art is gorgeous. The last couple now, we have the Quintessential Quintuplets, which is essentially like a harem romance, but I actually really like the look of this one. And I like the art a lot, so it's not really a kind of genre I go for, but I want to give it a shot because I think I might actually like this one. And then the last four we've got Vinland Saga, which is like a Viking historical action-y kind of thing. Don't know if I'm going to like this, honestly, because I'm not massive on Vikings, but I've heard good things, so I thought I'd give it a shot. Gantz is the next one. It's a sci-fi horror. And then the last two, we have a Clamp manga that I've wanted to try for quite a long time now, which is Wish. And then finally, we have The Summer Hikaru Died, which is kind of like a horror BL kind of thing, but the premise just sounds completely up my alley, so. Those are the 30 series I'm going to be reading for this. I'm hopefully going to be doing this throughout the whole month of May, with the aim that I'll finish by the end of May. I'm likely going to be trying to read multiple in a day, because I have things to read as well, and I don't really want to like limit myself to just one a day. So yeah, we will skip forward to when I do my first random pick. So the eagle-eyed among you may have already realised this, but I was like trying to do the math and I was like, I feel like I'm forgetting a manga here. And it turns out I never put Seaside Stranger onto the Wheel of Names. I think I've already got my last manga though, so I think this is actually just an extra volume accidentally that I thought was going to be part of this project, and it's not. So we're just going to put this aside and I'll read it another time, I guess. Okay, so here we go. I've listed all of the 30 manga I'm going to be reading into my little wheel of names here, and we're going to roll to see what I'm reading first. Not in the mood for anything in particular, so I'm good for anything. Oh, we're starting with Okay, cool. I'm actually really excited to read this one because I think I'm either going to love it or I'm going to hate it. So, yeah, I'll check back in once I've read it, I guess. Hello, I got my hair cut, so this is now what we're working with. Much better. I am so happy to have all that damage and length taken off. But more importantly, which is what I've come here to tell you, is that I read the first manga that the wheel picked for me, Blood on the Tracks. And I really liked it, actually. Honestly, the dread was so real throughout it. So basically it tells a story of this boy who is in middle grade school, I think. Basically his mother is weirdly overprotective and in a very creepy way. Tension between them, my gosh. And it kind of seems like he's afraid of her, and then it does get darker throughout the full manga to when she does something that genuinely kind of confirms those fears that she is mentally unstable, essentially. So yeah, I did like it. I didn't actually realise when I picked it up, there's 2 manga basically in this challenge I'm doing by this author, because I also picked up Flowers of Evil, which I didn't realise was by the same author as Blood on the Tracks. So that's interesting. Manga style, I did like the art. It wasn't particularly pretty, but it was very realistic, which I liked. It gave me kind of more subtle, less scary Junji Ito vibes, more old school art, which I didn't mind. I think it really suited the subject matter quite a lot. But yeah, I can kind of see how dark and twisted this is gonna go. I'm really hoping this is not gonna go down an incest route, because she's obsessed with her son, essentially, and I'm hoping it is just a son obsession and not that it becomes more so, because if so, I'm out, I'm dropping it. But yeah, I probably will carry this one on. I will say that I wasn't automatically wanting to pick up the next volume, so I think it may end up getting beaten by other mangas, unfortunately. But yeah, I liked it. I'd say it was a high 3, low 4 for the first volume. It was a very quick read as well. I think I read it in less than half an hour, because there really isn't very much dialogue in this manga. It's mostly all told by pictures, and that really does actually help build up the tension and the dread. It was very well done. So yeah, did quite like it, and let's roll to see what the next one is. I'm hoping we'll get something a bit lighter. Okay, yeah, so we got Magical Miracle. This is actually borrowed off my flatmate. I didn't really know very much about this series, but she really liked it, and it's an older series, as you can kind of tell by the fact it's the Tokyo Pop. I have no idea when this came out. I will put a note here, but I feel like it's a 90s, 2000s one. But basically, this is about, I'm not going to be able to pronounce her name, but there's this girl called Merloway? Something like that. Anyway, this girl right here, I think, with the red hair, just arrived in Vigald, where she hopes to study magic at one of the best schools in the kingdom. But shortly after she arrives, the great magician Sylphon, the master wizard of Vigald, goes missing. With panic setting in and a country in need, the followers of Sylphon discover that Merloway looks remarkably like the great magician. With the right training and guidance, she just might pass as Sylphon. But is Merloway man enough to bring peace to the kingdom? So yeah, I don't know if it's this girl here, because they're making it sound like the wizard is a man, and this is quite clearly very girly looking, so I'm confused. I guess I'll find out. It's giving me massive magical girl vibes, but I do think it's definitely going to be a lighter read after Blood on the Tracks, so I'll read it and I'll check back in once I've done with my thoughts. How cute is this school uniform? This is like the wizard school uniform and I love it. It's so freaking cute. Just, adorable. That's some peak Cardcaptor Sakura vibes right there. Okay, yeah. Her disguise as the male wizard is also pretty cool. I am digging the fashion in this manga. Okay, update from yet another angle. I just got in from going out because it was voting day, so I went to go vote and it was really nice outside. I wanted to just walk around and I wish I had my book with me because I would have just liked to have sat down on the grass somewhere and have just read. So nice. I might have to just go for like a long walk after work if it's still nice, just to soak in the actual spring vibes that are apparently here now. I haven't finished it, but I am quite a way through the first volume of Magical Miracle and I'm not loving it. It's just kind of fine. It's not bad. It's just, I feel like I've read this plot before, you know, and there's a lot of extra characters that are kind of in it and we're not really learning much about them, unfortunately. But I was just a little bit curious because I didn't really know much about this series going into it, so I went and had a look online to find out some more information about it. And it turns out this was actually published from 2002 to 2006, so I was half right in that it was early 2000s, but it was just past the 90s. And this is a finished series, I'd hope so, given that it's this old, but it's actually only got 6 volumes, so it's not really a massively long series. It does have a decent rating though, an anime list. It's rated a 7.71 with 3,000 members or so who have read it. I feel like there's a romance, you know, starting to be built up, which I really hope not because she's so young, and there's this whole, like, basically there's all these men who are like making her up to be the wizard, which I'm not massively keen on. When I say men, one of them is like a literal child who is this little red-haired kid. I thought that may have been the wizard, but that wasn't actually the wizard. It just turns out that he's like one of the harem, I suppose, that's building around her and training her to take the place of the wizard. We still don't have a clue yet why this wizard has vanished. But she's doing a better job than they're thinking of managing to sort of like be him. Like, it feels like they haven't trained her very well, to be honest, because she keeps getting put in these situations where she has to actually talk to be him, which they didn't train her for. Stupidly. But she's actually pulling it off, so kudos to her. And now I'm just gonna have a look at my anime list because I'm curious as to what other series this author has done. Because the art is very familiar, so I feel like I've seen it before, so I'm just gonna have a look. So they've done quite a few series. Their most recent series is 2019, and they haven't done anything since then, and this is just... Oh, it's a Yuri anthology, so it's a doujin, basically. An anthology of Yuri short stories featuring non-human couples by various mangaka, so they just did like something short in an anthology, basically, but they've not really done their own series before that since like 2013, so I feel like they're inactive. But this is like their top rated series, and there's one other series that actually has a rating which is called Inori Hime wa Sora ni Waru, and none of the others have ratings. So I guess they're just not massively known. I've done a lot of anthology stuff actually, but the only other series that they have, it's only 4 volumes long, so also not massively long, and it is about I don't know what it's about. Someone who inherits a Inori no Uta prayer song. At a single chance encounter, she is captivated by Prince Azurite, despite their meeting being forbidden. The two of them are exposed to cruel fate. Now the love that dwells in their hearts, an unseen door opens. I can see why she does Yuri art, actually, because her art is very kind of like everyone's very pretty, even all the men. So yeah, the characters are quite nicely designed actually in this, I'll say, and I love the fashion. But yeah, I'm not in love with it. So I only have like, I think a chapter or so left, so I'll check in again once I finish and do my final rating for it. So I did indeed finish the first volume of this, and yeah, I wasn't crazy on it, unfortunately. It took like a bit of a darker turn towards the end, which I kind of wasn't expecting, but I could see the seeds being drawn for it. And yeah, it just kind of left the whole thing with like the main character sort of like is starting to realise how important it is for her to live up to the person that she is kind of masquerading as, and like she can't just look like him, she has to actually sort of be able to do the things that he does, and she realizes she doesn't really know him at all, basically. So yeah, it was alright. I don't know if it's one I would carry on, to be honest, but it was cute, and that's all I've got to say about it, really. So let's spin the wheel for the next one. Now to pick my third manga. I'm honestly down for anything at the moment, so let's roll and see what we get. Ooh. Okay, Spicy Wolf. The funny thing about this one is that this is the one I've been waiting for to come into the library, and I literally just got my message today saying that this one is actually in my local library. So I was about to go out after this to go and pick it up, and now I can read it tonight. So perfect. So yeah, I'll check in with you once I've read it, I guess. Cool. So I finished my third book, Spice and Wolf, and I wasn't crazy on this, sadly. For anyone that doesn't know, essentially it is actually based on a light novel originally, which I can tell, to be honest. I feel like it probably reads better as a light novel than it does a manga, because it's incredibly information and dialogue heavy. So I don't think it necessarily worked as a manga quite as well. But basically it is about this merchant called Kraft Lawrence, and he kind of like is just going around and doing various trading and stuff. This is kind of set in like, I guess, kind of medieval-y sort of times, maybe a bit later than medieval, judging by some of the fashion. But basically he goes away from this village with like a bunch of wheat that they've sold him, and they've just kind of done this harvest festival, and there is this legend there about this wolf goddess who's kind of like the harvest goddess essentially. And then he basically just finds this wolf goddess has hitched a ride in his cart. And of course, because this is manga, she's totally naked, but she's basically just taken on human form, and she's managed to finally escape from the village and hitched a ride in his cart. And she wants to go back up north, but she's kind of just like, I've been like stuck there for hundreds and hundreds of years. I want to see the world a little bit. So she basically just decides to travel with Kraft for a little bit. I believe it does develop into a romance eventually. There are 16 volumes in total, but the bulk of this volume was just kind of introducing their relationship, which actually isn't that romantic so far, which I quite like. Kraft isn't super lecherous, thankfully, despite the fact she was naked. He was just like, okay, I guess you're there, and he didn't really seem that bothered by it or made any moves on her, which I definitely appreciated. Also, equal opportunities nudity, because he also gets naked later on, so that was something. Yeah, this was originally made, well, it was published between 2007 to 2017, so the art is honestly fine. Like, I'm gonna show you bits that don't have like nudity in it, because there are some sections where she's just fully naked for the first chapter, in full colour as well. Yeah, I just honestly found this one a little bit boring. Like, I think the premise is really good, but I feel this is very much a kind of like a slice of life almost series, is kind of what I got the impression of. And like, basically it's just him going back and forth to different places, and there's a lot of talk about economy and how it works, and I just found it really boring, unfortunately. But there was kind of like a bigger plot, I suppose, to do with this like deal that he gets involved with, to do with the purity of the coin, and I guess that's going to carry on. But honestly, I just found this kind of boring, unfortunately. Like, I did like the two characters quite a lot, and I liked the art. I didn't think it was a bad premise, and I could see how this would be something that would be quite interesting for some people, but for me, it just wasn't, unfortunately. So it took me like 2 or 3 days to finish this, just because I didn't really want to pick it up again. So yeah, that was that one, unfortunately. Looking at the ranking, I think we've currently got Blood on the Tracks at number 1, Magical Miracle at number 2. I do think I'm going to put this below Magical Miracle, if only just. I kind of feel very similar about them. Like, I didn't really love either of them, but I think Magical Miracle was just more my kind of vibe, and I could see myself like reading it as an easy read and maybe not loving it but still liking it, and I think I just would get bored with this one, unfortunately. So yeah, this one is currently the bottom of the ranking, which I didn't really expect from this, because I know this is quite a popular series. It's not one I hear many people talking about. It has actually just recently got a new anime though, this season. So it's got like, I don't know if it's a new reboot or something like that. But yeah, I know it's quite popular with some people, but yeah, just I don't think it's for me. I do think the anime might be more interesting, however, just in terms of how they present the information, because like, I'm just trying to find some like bits here where you can just see, yeah, there's this whole thing here where it's just like, yeah, and graphs and economy and stuff, and it just wasn't for me, basically. So yeah, that's a shame, but this does mean we get to pick my 4th section, so let's go to the wheel. Okay, here we go, spin 3. I'm really hoping I get something I like more, because the last 2 I wasn't crazy on, so fingers crossed. Ooh, okay, Mashal. That is a comedy shonen one. Let me go get it. Okay, so here is manga number 4, Mashal, Magic and Muscles. It's a Shonen Jump series, and I actually got this, funnily enough, by pure chance. I was in a cosplay competition, and we kind of got like an honorary mention because they really enjoyed our performance, and they gave us all like a random manga volume each, and this is the one I ended up with, which is Mashal. It's not one I probably would have picked up, but I have actually heard good things about it. I say I wouldn't have normally picked it up just because it's more comedy, and that isn't really my thing, but you know what, I could use something a little bit light, because Spice and Wolf was kind of yeah, it was what it was, basically. Spice and Wolf wasn't particularly my thing, so I think a light read would be good for next. So, just to have a little bit of information about this one, it is actually finished. I didn't realise this was finished. I thought this was still an ongoing series. But it is finished. It finished at 18 volumes, and it published between 2020 and 2023, so it just finished last year, so quite recent. It has got an anime as well, which I think aired quite recently, or is maybe even currently airing. I can't quite remember, but I'm actually quite happy this is finished, because one thing I do see of a lot of shonen series is that they just keep dragging them out, and I just kind of lose interest. It's why I've not like caught up with series like Boku no Hero and that kind of thing, because I'm just like, I personally don't necessarily enjoy a series that has no endpoint, but this one does, so I'm actually more interested now in this one. So yeah, I'll go away, read it, and I'll come back to you with my thoughts. Hello, so I finished Mashal, Magic and Muscles, read it quite quickly, and it was really fun. Like, I actually really enjoyed it, shockingly. It was really funny, and I had a good time with it. I think it would be one that I would maybe carry on via the anime, just because I prefer to watch series of a lot of action scenes in anime instead, because I find them easier to understand. But honestly, this was really fun. I didn't expect that I'd enjoy it as much as I did, but it was just like the right kind of silly. Also, the author, the mangaka, has written like little things in between the chapters, and they've kind of like done this whole like the path to weekly jump serialization, like basically their life story, and it was also really funny. So yeah, I actually really liked it. So yeah, basically it's about this boy called Mash, and he doesn't have an ounce of magic in him, but the world basically basically run on magic. But he's basically been adopted by this like old man, and he just lives in the forest, and he just is super strong. All he does is work out and eat cream puffs. But he gets found out by the police, and the police decides to make a deal with him, essentially that if he can enroll at the magic school and somehow become like the best student, basically, which is quite difficult for someone that has no magic, he'll basically let the fact that he doesn't have magic like slide, because apparently like people without magic are basically just killed, which is pretty drastic. But he agrees to do the deal, so that's how he ends up going to magic school, and he basically is just using his strength in various ways to somehow succeed in all the tasks despite having no magic. I can see it getting like a little bit repetitive as it goes on, a bit like how I kind of think One Punch Man would be, in that it's just you deal with the thing the same way each time. But honestly, really had fun with this one. It's quite a light read so far as well, even though they've definitely got some hints of like, there are some stakes the further in we're going. And it's a really quirky art style as well. Like, the characters are drawn quite quirkily. Like, there's this one, like, teacher guy who's just, like, got these horrible teeth. Everyone does, like, look a little bit similar. Like, it's not a pretty art style, I would say. It's quite, like, blocky, but it actually does really suit the style. So, yeah, actually really enjoyed this one. So if we go to my tracker, I am, in fact, gonna put this to second place for now, because I didn't like it as much as Blood on the Tracks, because that is more my kind of thing, but I definitely enjoyed it more than Magical Miracle and Spice and Wolf. So yeah, quite liked this, would probably carry it on. Okay, so Flowers of Evil Down. I actually really liked it. I didn't think I was going to, but I found like the characters really interesting, and like I just want to know what's gonna happen, to be honest. So yeah, essentially it is like basically this premise of this boy does something that he shouldn't have done. He steals someone's gym clothes, and this other girl in the class who's kind of like known as a bit of a delinquent, like she swears at the teachers and that kind of thing, and everyone just thinks she's really weird, sees him, and she proceeds to blackmail him. And it sounds like she wants to just basically put him in a whole lot of situations that she'll find amusing. I think she's probably a sociopath from what I'm gathering. I actually quite liked it. Like, I can definitely see how there's similar themes going on between this and his newer work, Blood on the Tracks. It was really dark, but I just want to see what happens, basically. Whereas I think with Blood on the Tracks, I was interested, but I wasn't super invested about where it was going to go. So I think that means I liked it more. So yeah, I guess we'll go to the ranking and we'll see where I'm putting it. Okay, so Flowers of Evil. I gotta say, I don't know if I want to put it higher than Blood on the Tracks or lower. This is a difficult thing because they're both by the same person. I think Blood on the Tracks has a more interesting concept, but I did like Flowers of Evil more, I think, in terms of the storyline. It felt like there was like a bit more going on in terms of the pacing, and I'm genuinely interested to find out more about the characters. So I think we're gonna have to put Flowers of Evil in top spot for now, which I did not expect, but I'm really intrigued by it. And I want to carry it on and see how messed up it's gonna get, I guess. Okay, so that was Flowers of Evil. Shocked that this is now at the top of my ranking, to be honest. So let's roll to see what we get next. I've had quite a mix of stuff. Feeling a fantasy, I think. So yeah, let's see. But I think I'd like something fantasy. Maybe Atelier. Ooh. Okay. That is not a fantasy. That is a survival horror, I believe. Let me just go look up again what it is. So this is an older series again. It is a finished series. It's 10 volumes long, and it published between 1997 and 2003, and it's like an action drama horror sci-fi apparently. Is all of the things that it's listed as. It's got a hell of a ton of variations of it. So yeah, Blame. This is one I don't really know much about. I just had heard it was interesting, and I'd heard it was a sci-fi horror, which is my jam. So here we go. This is what it's about. In an enormous steel labyrinth riddled with horrifying creatures, humanity is forced to isolate itself in small enclaves while living in constant fear of its annihilation. In this dystopia, only a strange young man known as Killy is brave enough to traverse its unforgiving territories. Possessing superhuman strength and a rare graviton beam emitter, Killy fights off bloodthirsty beasts and other fiendish forces in his desperate search for a human with the net terminal gene, genetic information that holds potential to restore the corrupt world. It does sound interesting. So yeah, I'll get on with this. It's got quite a high score rating as well, so it seems to be well liked. It's ranked 330 out of millions. So yeah, I will check back in with you once I've read it. So, I just read the first volume of Doubt, and honestly, I have absolutely no clue what I just read. It just was really confusing. Like, I read that premise to you, none of that really showed up. It gave you no, like, information as well. You were very much just thrust into the world. There's very little dialogue, and basically it just seems to be following this guy, and he gets attacked by various people and robots, and he's after something, but we don't really find out at all what's going on or anything about him, and it just seems to be like constant fighting and him walking through this world and meeting people who think try to kill him. So yeah, I didn't like it basically. I didn't have a clue what was going on. The art wasn't amazing, although some of the robot designs were really cool. I will say that for it. It definitely got that kind of like that futuristic vibe going on with the robots' designs, but overall was not a fan of this one. And I think that means it's probably going right down to the bottom of the ranking at the moment. So we've had our first real dud, I guess. Okay, so yeah, definitely not going to be carrying on with Blame, to be honest. I was curious because it has all these different, like, prequels and sequels and alternative versions, and I was curious to see if the anime is kind of, like, better, I guess. Like, it's got a really high rating for the manga, and then I went and checked the anime, which came out in 2003. It was only a 6-episode one, and it is rated dreadfully. It's like barely a 6 out of 10. So yeah, the anime isn't great apparently. But yeah, that is that one. That one is very much at the bottom right now in my ranking. So let's roll again on the wheel, and hopefully I'll get something better this time. I've had quite a few dark ones in a row, so let's hopefully get something light. Give me like something cute, maybe. No, we're getting another shonen. Not mad about this one though, because I do like Hunter x Hunter, which is by the same person. I think Yu Yu Hakusho was the series they did prior to Hunter x Hunter. So let me just go and find a bit more information about it for you. So this is a finished series. It's 19 volumes long. Hunter x Hunter is still going, actually. And it was published between 1990 and 1994. So quite a quick release, to be honest. I think it was a Shonen Jump one, but I can't... Yeah, Jump Comics, so it is. So basically this one's about a 14-year-old thug called Yusuke Urameshi. Spends his day skipping school, causing trouble. He regularly engages in street brawls against rival Kazuma Kuwabara and ridicules his childhood friend Keiko Yukimura. I guess that's this girl here. Filled with self-loathing and the burden of an alcoholic mother, Yusuke sacrifices it all in a split-second decision. He tackles a small child out of the way of an oncoming car, losing his life in the process. Spirit guide Botan intervenes, allowing Yusuke to see how the people in his life react to his death. He is moved by the emotional ruin his loss causes his mother Keiko and even Kuwabara, Additionally, due to his death's heroic nature, he receives an opportunity to return to life from the spirit world ruler's son, Koenma. Koenma hires Yusuke as a spirit detective and tasks him with solving a series of increasingly challenging paranormal mysteries. Battling and befriending demons such as the beautiful Kurama and hostile Hiei, Yusuke further develops and utilizes his skills as a fighter, but as dark forces move in the underworld, Yusuke struggles alongside his companions to defend everything he took for granted. Yeah, I'm really interested in this one. Like I say, I liked Hunter x Hunter a lot, and I know this is an older series, but it's by the same person. So this is quite high rated. This is like an 8. It definitely has an anime as well. And yeah, it's one I've just seen a lot around, basically, but I don't really, I've never seen anything, I've never watched any of it, and I've never read any of it before. So, let's give it a try and see if I like it.
Okay, so I'm just, I think, on the last chapter of Yu Yu Hakusho, and I had to laugh so much because it just had the girl Keiko as the main chapter picture, and she's just like, I'm not in this chapter. She's just there for no reason.
So, I finished Yu Yu Hakusho, and I really enjoyed it, actually. Like, I think it had a really strong start. Hunter x Hunter, I think, takes a little while to get going, but even though I gave you that whole premise, and, like, he's dead straight away, essentially. Like, he's already saved the boy, and he's, like, in the afterlife and stuff. And yeah, I had a really good time with it. It's one I actually really want to carry on. So yeah, I read a whole bunch of those manga, like, in one day, essentially, because I happened to just end up having a free day because I haven't been too well, so I just have read a whole bunch of manga. Yeah, I'm gonna take a break now, I think, before I start my next one, but first, let's go have a look at the ranking and see where it lies, and then spin to see what I'm gonna read next. So, I think that it's gonna go in the number 2 spot for now. I'm close to putting it at number 1, quite honestly, but there were a few things that still kind of bugged me a little bit about it. It had some kind of typical shonen stuff, and I'm not super invested in all the characters yet, but really liked it. My review was a little bit slapdash, I realise. I can see this being like a redemption story, essentially, for the main character. And he's actually surprisingly likeable, like, even though he's a delinquent, he's, like, really funny. And he ends up sort of, like, going to help people, even though that's not really his intention. And that first volume was just kind of like a bunch of little short separate stories, essentially, about him helping people that have been touched by death, whether it's someone around them has died. It was a little boy whose dog was dying, unfortunately, and it also had a girl who was a ghost who had kind of not moved on, and he sort of helped her move on. So yeah, it was actually really sweet, which I didn't expect. I really thought this was like more of a battle shonen action sort of series, and it might get that way later on, I think. But at least at the beginning, I think it's really setting things up quite nicely. Kind of giving me Bleach vibes a little bit too, except they're not fighting monsters. He's just kind of helping people with their lives, essentially. Yeah, really, really liked it, I've got to say. So I think I kind of want to put it at number 1, actually. Not gonna lie. Yeah, I think it's gonna be number 1. There we go. It's number 1, shockingly. Didn't think it was gonna be there, but I really, really enjoyed it. So, now let us pick the next series that we're going to read. Honestly, I've had such a mix now. I'm down for anything. So, yeah, let's roll and see what we get. Ooh. Okay. This is one I'm also very hyped for. I think there's only 3 volumes of this series. I really like the art style of it. No, it's still ongoing, actually, from the looks of it. It is quite a recent one. This started in 2021. It's like a horror mystery, but it's also a BL. So essentially, it's about these two best friends, Yoshiki and Hikaru. They live in a small village, and there are like no other people their age essentially. But then over the summer, Yoshiki notices that Hikaru is different. The Hikaru that sits beside him now is nothing like his friend. Despite his physical appearance and memories remaining exactly the same, Yoshiki knows something is amiss, and that the Hikaru he once knew is gone. When he brings this up, Hikaru partially transforms into an otherworldly being, threatening to kill Yoshiki if he cannot accept it, while also professing its love for him. So yeah, it is like a horror, but it's also a love story, I suppose. I'm just really intrigued by this one essentially, so I'm hoping that I'll love it. It's got quite a high rating. So yeah, I think there are currently 3 volumes published, but it's still ongoing, so I don't know how long it's gonna be, but yeah, I'll give it a try and let you know.
So I finished the summer that Hikaru died, and I absolutely loved it. Just honestly, it's shot right to the top of my ranking. Right from that, I'm already dying to pick up the next volumes for this one. It had a lot going on. I found the characters really interesting, both Hikaru, or what Hikaru is now, and Yoshiki, who is the friend, and he's kind of like trying to deal with this idea that his friend is not who he is anymore, but he still looks like him, he still remembers everything, and he's trying to come to terms with the fact that his friend is dead, and it's like really messing with him. And now he's also starting to realize that like stuff is starting to go weird around town, and he thinks it might be something to do with his friend and what his friend is. And he's also starting to kind of get afraid, I suppose, of what the creature is that is in his friend's body. So yeah, really, really liked it. Desperate to carry it on, quite honestly. I can see myself going to pick up the next volumes the next time I'm in town, because I need to know what happens. So yeah, really enjoyed it. Also the art's really nice. So yeah, that was that one. It's going right to the top of the ranking, I think. And I'm going to spin the wheel to pick my next book, I guess.
Okay, so this is the current ranking. I can't believe I'm already 8 down, so doing pretty good. Yeah, I'm kind of down for anything at the moment, so let's see. Oh, is it going to be Gantz? Gantz. Gantz. Okay, cool. So this one is also a sci-fi horror kind of thing. I'm hoping it's at least going to be much better than Blame. I keep getting Blame and Doubt mixed up. It's really annoying that they just have one word names. But yeah, Gantz is quite a highly rated one. I actually really know about this one via seeing cosplays of it, which is odd. It's a very long set. It's 37 volumes long, published between 2000 and 2013. Action, drama, horror, sci-fi, essentially. Also, apparently has had some live-action movies and some anime. So it is about a high school student called Kei Korono. He isolates himself out of a growing I can't even say that word, cynicism towards his fellow man and the cruelty they are capable of enacting. One day, while waiting to take the subway to school, Kei's classmate Masaru Kato leaps onto the tracks in an effort to save a drunk man. Driven by an uncharacteristic desire to rescue someone else, Kei follows Kato down into danger. While successful in saving him, the two boys are killed by the train. Oh! Okay, I did not know that was the premise. So this is very Yu Yu Hakusho beginning. Kei wakes up beside Kato in an apartment full of strangers and furnished by a giant black orb with a glass-like outer surface. After finding out that everyone in the room has recently died, words appear on the black board tasking them with killing a strange creature. The board equips Kei and the others with power suits and mysterious guns before sending them off to collect this bizarre bounty. Although Kei discovers the mission to be far more deadly than originally suspected, he manages to survive. He is teleported back to the apartment where he and the other survivors are rewarded point values according to their actions in battle by the Black Sphere, which a fellow survivor says is called Gantz. Despite his death earlier that day, Kei is granted the ability to return to his daily life with one condition. He can be uprooted from his day at any time and summoned back to the apartment, where Gantz will task him and other recently deceased with the assassination of another target. Ooh, that sounds really interesting. I am really intrigued by that. that's a lot more interesting than I thought it was gonna be. So yeah, that is the next one. I'm probably gonna take a break for a day or so. I ended up reading like 6 manga in one day. So I think I'm gonna take a break for a day or so, and then I'll come back to this and I'll let you know what it's like. So, I am coming at you with an update, and it's not a good update, unfortunately. I read Gantz last night, and I did not enjoy it in the slightest. I can see how this series could get really good, and part of me is kind of like, maybe try more volumes and see if, like, it gets better. But honestly, like, this whole video is just basing it off the first volume, and I did not like the first volume. Like, the main characters, well, the main character, I hated him. And I didn't really like any of the characters, to be honest. Like, there was an awful lot of, like, perviness going on, and I didn't really gel with, like, the premise. It actually felt really confusing, to be honest. So, like, basically, the main character is this high school guy, and he just kind of just, like, doesn't really care for anybody except himself, is kind of the vibe. He ends up getting... he's easily peer pressured, though, I think, is probably what we're seeing. And he ends up getting pulled into helping out this guy who falls off into, like, a subway train line, and they manage to get him out, but they don't manage to get out before the train comes. So they die, essentially, in a fairly brutal way, and that they end up, like, waking up and finding themselves in this room with a whole bunch of other random people, none of whom we really know much about at the moment. None of them really appear very likable either, to be honest. And they basically all find out that they've all, like, died, and they've been brought here, and they think it's, like, heaven or something. And then this other person, like, spawns in who's also just died, and it's this woman, and she's completely naked, after having committed suicide, apparently. And, oh my god, like, not only was it, like, there was a lot of, like, gratuitous shots of that, which I didn't particularly enjoy. The first thing that one of the other people does is, like, pull her away to try and sexually assault her. And she's just, like, oblivious for this whole thing. Like, she's totally out of it. I don't think she knows what the hell is going on. Thankfully, they stop him from doing that. But even so, like, everyone just kind of sees her in that kind of pervy way, apart from, like, the main guy's friend, who, like, gives her some clothing to cover her up. But she's, like, got no personality so far, either. So, like, it's kind of, like, building her up to be, like, the main heroine, I guess. I don't know, because she's in, like, all the chapter pictures, mostly naked. But she hasn't really done anything yet. And then it ends up kind of, like, going into, like, this hunt where most of the people, apart from the main guy and the girl, are, like, looking for this alien who looks like an onion or something to, like, take him out. And it's just this really weird chase, and the guy's really weird. And then they kind of take him out, but also, like, it starts infecting them with something. I really didn't have a clue what was going on, to be honest. That first volume didn't really resolve what happened with that. So, yeah, I was just kind of confused. Like, I think I needed a little bit more to go on to really know what the hell was going on. But yeah, so far, I was confused, and I really didn't like any of the characters or the situation that much. So, yeah, I think this one is probably going to be going quite low in my list. In fact, second to last, I think, is where I'm putting it now. It was not as bad as Blame, because I just didn't have a fucking clue what was happening in Blame, whereas at least I knew mostly what was happening in this. And the art was alright, and the concept was okay, but I just hated the execution. So yeah, I guess that is what I thought of that one. So I'm going to roll again, and hopefully I'll get something better. So, Gantz was kind of disappointing, so let's hope I get a good one next. Fingers crossed! It's kind of like a not horror, just because I feel like I've... Oh, never mind! I'm getting one! Okay, I'm not mad about this, because I'm really excited to read this one. This is basically like a death game kind of thing, from what I remember. It's essentially... I was actually just watching a video earlier, and someone was basically describing this as Among Us. Realistically, this is a little bit more like Werewolf, I think, or Mafia, in that essentially, I think all the characters are kind of trapped in this place and they have these like bunny masks, and I think one of them is a traitor or a murderer or something, and they have to work out who the person is. And I had this one physically, so yeah, I'll check back in once I've read some of it, I guess.
Hello, so update. I finished the first volume of Doubt. This is an omnibus volume, so this is only halfway through, and I really liked it. It was the death game vibes I kind of wanted. I can't say I love the characters yet, but I think they're all kind of pretty interesting, which is what you need for one of these kind of things. So, really liked this one. I think I'm actually going to give it a fairly high ranking. It was very, like, quick and stuff, and we had a very brutal death already in that first volume. I didn't expect to get death so soon, because there's really not very many of them. Like, as you can see, there are 6 of them, but the mystery is developing, and yeah, really liking it. Definitely going to continue it. Time to spin for the next one.
Okay, so the quickest update, I did record this and for some reason the recording did not save, but I have indeed put Doubt at 3rd place because I just don't think the story is going to be as extensive and in-depth as something like Yu Yu Hakusho is going to be. So even though I enjoyed it quite a lot, I just don't see this being like as involved of a story, but I definitely liked it more than Flowers of Evil and Blood on the Track, so I put in that 3rd. I also did do my roll, obviously you can't see it anymore, but I got an old man and his cat, which I'm quite happy about. It's like slice of life kind of stuff, I think. It should be very cute. I definitely want something a little bit lighter after all the like dark, death gamey sort of stuff I've had recently. I was kind of hoping for like a fantasy like Witch Hat Atelier, but I'm happy with that, so I'll go read it and I'll let you know how it goes.
Okay, so a few days have passed since I last read a manga. I just needed a break for a couple of days basically, and I was reading a lot of other books, but I'm back on it, and I read A Man and His Cat, Volume 1, and this was super cute. Like, honestly, just the art. Like, I have to show you these end papers. It's so cute. This is essentially just like, it almost feels like a little webcomic, to be honest. Like, I read the mangaka basically, like, put this on Twitter originally as just, like, a casual, easygoing sort of manga because they wanted to just do about cats. And that is very much the vibe of this. It's very easy to read. It's very cute, and I do like the whole premise of this, like, old guy who basically goes into a cat shop and picks what everyone thinks is the most ugliest cat because he thinks the cat is really lovable looking. And the two are just very sweet. Like, there's not really much in the way of conflict. It's just very day-to-day life of what it's like living with a cat. If you've lived with a cat, you will relate to this completely. But yeah, it's really, really cute. I really enjoyed it. I think the only thing I have to say about it that I wasn't really crazy on is something that Book Roast also mentioned when she read this recently, and that is the cat puns. Basically, like, you see all this all the way through, I think he's called Fukumaru, is the cat's name, and everything is from his, well, it's half from his perspective and half from the old man's perspective of them kind of learning to live with one another. But the cat constantly is like speaking in like meow puns basically, and it gets kind of annoying. Like, if it was just once or twice I wouldn't really mind it, but it's like almost every sentence essentially, so that gets a little bit annoying in terms of hearing the cat's voice. So I'll say that did dampen it down a little bit, but this is still a really cute series. It's not gonna, like, blow anyone's mind or anything, but honestly, it's just sweet and cute and cozy, and it's a nice vibe. So yeah, really quite liked this one. So let's go to the sheet to see where I'm gonna rank it.
So, just because I forgot to mention as well, the Otisama Taneko series is actually really long. It's still ongoing, but it's currently at about 11 volumes with at least another 2 kind of in progress publication. So yeah, this is quite a long series, surprisingly. Oh, I guess there's more cats, which I'm not upset about. So yeah, it's quite a long series. But let's go into where we're ranking it. I think I didn't quite enjoy it as much as Mashal. So we're gonna put it in here. Okay, so it's sitting currently at number 7. Again, please give me a fantasy, I really want one. Ooh. Oh. Oh. I was just looking at this one and I was kind of like, I hope I don't get that because I'm not really in the mood for a slice of life right now, but I guess we're reading it. So, Blue Period. Let me go and show you all what it's about. So, Blue Period is a currently publishing manga, actually got a really high rating, and it got an anime recently too. So it is about a second-year high school student called Yasuro Yaguchi who is bored of his normal life. He doesn't really enjoy anything, and he secretly envies those who do things differently. Then he discovers the joy of drawing. When he sees a painting made by a member of the art club, Yatoro becomes fascinated with the colours used in it. Later in an art exercise, he tries to convey his language without words but instead through painting. After that experience, Yatoro finds himself so invested in art that he decides that is what he wants to do for a living. But there stand multiple obstacles in his way: his parents who are hesitant over his unique choices, his more experienced peers, and the study of a subject much deeper than he initially expected. So yeah, Blue Period is kind of relating to, I can't remember what artist it is, but like one of their art like eras was essentially called the Blue Period. So yeah, this is like a drama basically. It's award winning apparently. There's an alternative version? Oh, okay. There is a novel as well, which came after. So the manga did come first. But yeah, it does sound really good. Again, it's one I've just heard really great things about. And I'm always interested in stuff that's kind of like to do with creative pursuits. So yeah, Blue Period. I'll check back in once I've read it. So I just finished Blue Period and I liked it well enough, but I can't say I was super invested into it. I thought the story was really good. It really reminded me of Welcome to the Ballroom, funnily enough, which has a similar kind of idea where it's a guy who doesn't necessarily have much in the way of kind of like ambitions or knows what he really wants to do with his life. He just kind of does stuff. He ends up getting inspired by somebody. In this case, he sees a painting in a room, which is done by one of his senpais, and he just kind of starts to get interested in art, and then he kind of tries it out and he just finds himself enjoying it, and he realizes at that point that he hasn't been enjoying anything he's been doing. He basically has been like working really hard and getting good grades and stuff, but he doesn't know what he wants to do with his life, and he's not really that bothered about it. And it's not until he kind of starts to find this passion that he begins to realize that he feels things, I suppose. So it packed quite a lot into that first volume, basically. There was like a lot about him joining, like meeting other people, talking with his art teacher, him kind of learning how to draw. He joins an art club, and then later on he ends up joining like a prep school which is specifically for artists, and he's trying to learn how to do oil paints. It's very information heavy. It's really good for people who are just genuinely interested in learning about what painting is, because it really does go heavily into depth in it. So I liked it, but it just didn't necessarily hold my attention too much, and I feel like it would be one that I might prefer the anime over the manga to read. I know this is still an ongoing series too, so again, I can see this being one that runs quite a way because it could go in so many different directions. But it did a lot just in that first volume, which I was surprised about. Like, I really didn't think we were gonna get more than just him joining the club, maybe, but like he's already in prep school. So yeah, it was interesting. I think I am gonna put it reasonably high, but somewhere in the middle, I think. So let's go to the sheet and I'll show you where I'm going to put it, and then we'll roll to see what I read next. Okay, so I think this is our 13th manga, and I think we're placing it somewhere around the middle. I gave Summer Hikari Died a 5, and these ones here I gave 4s. Mashal was a 3, and I think it does kind of lie somewhere in the middle. Like, I think it's like a mid to high 3 is how I feel about this one. So I'm going to stick it here after Blood on the Tracks, just because I've got a slightly more intrigue for Blood on the Tracks than I do for Blue Period. So I'm putting this one here. Let's go to the Wheel of Names and see what we're going to get next. Please give me a fantasy. I want something that isn't like dry and dark. Oh, so close to Villains Are Destined to Die. Dokisai! Okay, this is a BL manga about two boys who are classmates. That's all I kind of know about it. I know it got a movie. I think the art style's kind of unusual in it, which kind of drew me to it, but mostly the fact that it got a movie is what intrigued me. I really know nothing else about this other than those kind of facts. So yeah, I'll go read that and I'll let you know what it is like. So I finished volume 1 of Classmates, also known as Dokusai, and it was kind of boring. Yeah, the series has so much hype to it, and I honestly really didn't get it from reading it. It was just a very simplistic sort of slow burn love story between these two. We don't really learn very much about either of these characters, to be honest, other than that they're opposites. Like, this guy is kind of like the cool guy who's in the band and a bit of a delinquent, and this guy like works quite hard. So they're very different from each other, but basically they end up sort of becoming close because they have to do this like school recital thing or something, and he's a musician and he is struggling to read the music, so he basically teaches him how to read the music to be able to sing. So that was a nice premise, but it was just kind of like that was just how they got closer basically. And then it had this whole thing with like the music teacher who's gay and had like a bit of a weird relationship with him, which I really didn't like. I hate the whole student classmate relationship, particularly in BL series. I see it so much and I just really don't like that dynamic. And yeah, it was just kind of fine. Like, it just follows them like over a whole year, I think. Like, I didn't even realize how much time had passed, and they were like, yeah, we've been dating for a year. And now they're starting to think about like, well, one of them's gonna have to go to university and the other isn't sure what he wants to do, that kind of thing. And they're trying to work out what the future of their relationship is and how much they feel about each other, I suppose. And it was just kind of fine. Like, I just don't think it's something that I would really bother to carry on. It just felt like a million other BL I've read. Unfortunately, it just wasn't particularly memorable. So yeah, that's a shame because I was really quite looking forward to this one. I do like the art, but I liked it less as it went on, I think. I don't know if it's because I was losing interest, but yeah, I didn't end up really loving this overall, both art-wise and story-wise. So yeah, that's a shame. I think this is probably gonna get quite a low rating. I think I'm giving it a low 3, when it's not unreadable, don't get me wrong. I just didn't find anything new here to get me excited. So, to the sheet, and then we'll roll for the next one. So, I think I'm going to put this around 11th. I feel almost bad putting it this low, but honestly, I even found what was going on in Spice and Wolf, which I also found quite boring, to at least have a little bit more to it than this one. So, unfortunately, it's going here. Like, it wasn't awful. It wasn't Gantz and Blame levels, which I didn't like either of those. It's just here in this kind of category. So yeah, that was a shame. I'm sad because I really did hear such good things about this. It was a finished series, I think, of about 9 or 10 volumes, but now it's got like a sequel series kind of airing at the moment called Blanc or something. But I don't know if I'm even going to continue it, to be honest. I may check out the movie just because I've heard some people saying how good it is, and that's just like a one and done kind of thing. But yeah, I wasn't crazy in the manga, unfortunately. So, this does mean we get to roll for the next one. Sorry, the lighting just changed. I'd forgot to put my lamp on, so sorry it was very dark there before. But let's roll and see what we get next. We are getting close to being halfway through this, so I'm excited to see what we get. Ooh. Okay, Claymore. Well, I did get my wish of getting a fantasy even if this is a dark fantasy that I think is very gory, so I'm still not quite getting my light cute fantasy that I'm wanting. But Claymore is actually a series I read the first volume of before, but it was one of the very first manga I ever read back when I was in my early teens, so I remember not much about this at all. I don't even really remember what the premise is, to be honest, so let's go quickly have a look at that. Right, so this is a fairly old manga. This was published between 2001 and 2014. It's classed as an action adventure fantasy with horror elements. It also got an anime, I believe, about 6 or so years after that. It's freaking long though. It's got 27 volumes. So this is set in the Middle Ages, and the remnants of mankind are plagued by paranoia and death. Spoken in fearful whispers, the word Yoma cuts a clear image into the minds of all, monstrous beings with insatiable hunger for human flesh. But fear of their gruesome appetite is dwarfed by that of their ability to shapeshift and steal the memories of their last meal, forever vulnerable to attack humans living on ease, even among family. There are few means to kill a Yoma. The organization, informally known as Claymore, is humanity's only line of defense, dispatching half-human, half-Yoma female warriors to purify villages of Yoma. A lonely and dangerous existence, death for these warriors comes with each new assignment. What time is found between trying battles and long, arduous travels is spent in ever-intensifying struggles to resist their Yoma blood and maintain their humanity. Villagers, knowing of this, pay for their security reluctantly and have only loathsome regard for their protectors. And we're following this apparently quite low-ranking member called Claire as she searches for personal vengeance. Along the way, she encounters many unexpected things about the world, from the camaraderie and hope held fast by her sisters in arms to the sinister truth behind the Claymore organization. So yeah, it sounds quite interesting. I'm very intrigued to see what it's like, to be honest. It's one of those series that I often hear people saying if you like Berserk and want something else to read, try Claymore. Because it's just the whole dark fantasy and a warrior going through it all kind of vibe. I was kind of interested in the whole all the warriors are female thing, that it gives me like big old Nier Automata vibes, to be honest. But yeah, I will go read this and I'll check back in with my thoughts on it. So I read Claymore and I can actually really see the Berserk vibes now that I've reread it. Funny story, when I initially read this, I really didn't like it apparently because I rated it a 2 star. And I know I wasn't as much into horror and stuff now, but on a reread, I actually really liked it. So basically, we're seeing a lot of this actually not through Claire's eyes. We're seeing it through this boy who's, I don't want to really spoiler it, but basically stuff happens around him and he is in town when the Claymore Claire comes to town, and he ends up sort of interacting with her and getting attached to her. So he ends up like kind of following her. So these two are kind of traveling together. And we're just kind of learning a little bit at the moment about the world, about the monsters that she fights, about how she is. And now we're starting to learn a bit more about the organization. And yeah, it was actually quite a solid beginning. I really quite liked it. So yeah, I think I liked it much more than I did when I first read it, and I think I'm actually wanting to continue this one. So that was a nice surprise because I was just not sure if I was misremembering it, and if I read it again now and it really was as bad as I like seem to have thought it was, but actually it was a lot better than I thought it was. So yeah, actually going to be giving that a decent ranking, I think. So yeah, I think I'm actually gonna rate this to 5th at the moment. I've got a lot more intrigue for it than I did with Blood of the Tracks, quite honestly, but I did enjoy Flowers of Evil a little bit more, I think. So yeah, we're going to put this in the 5th spot for now. So we're almost, this is going to be the halfway point with this next manga. We finally got to number 15 or 30. Let's roll to see what we're going to get. Oh. Oh, I was not sure where that was going. That was so far in between. Okay, Vinland Saga. This is another older series, I believe, and this is a Viking series. Another one that's had an anime adaptation. I think it might still be going. I'm not entirely sure. I'm gonna check quickly just now. Okay, yeah, no, it's still going. Damn, look at that score. That's a high score. It's currently ranked as number 7 on the site, 18 in popularity, 305,000 members. So this is a really popular series. I know nothing about this other than that it's like a Viking thing. I think it's like a saga, I guess. It's been going since 2005. And yeah, it's still hecking going. I have no idea how many volumes we've got at this point. But basically, this is following Thorfinn, who is, I assume, this angry-looking blonde chap right here. Son of one of Viking's greatest warriors, he's among the finest fighters in the merry band of mercenaries run by the cunning Askeladd, an impressive feat for a person his age. However, Thorfinn is not part of the group for the plunder it entails. Instead, for having caused his family great tragedy, the boy has vowed to kill Askeladd in a fair duel. Not yet skilled enough to defeat him, but unable to abandon his vengeance, Thorfinn spends his boyhood with the mercenary crew, honing his skills on the battlefield among the war-loving Danes, where killing is just another pleasure of life. One day, when Askeladd receives word that Danish Prince Canute? I don't know. This is a real person, I'm pretty sure, has been taken hostage, he hatches an ambitious plot, one that will decide the next king of England, and drastically alter the lives of Thorfinn, Canute, and himself. Set in 11th century Europe, Vinland Saga tells a bloody epic in an era where violence, madness, and injustice are inescapable, providing a paradise for the battle-crazed, and utter hell for the rest who live in it. Okay, this is sounding very Game of Thrones, but in Viking times. So yeah, this was one of the ones I put on, and I was really not sure if it was going to be my kind of thing, but I figure I'll give it a shot. So I will let you know once I read the first volume if I liked it or not. If I look all hot and sweaty, it's because I had an afternoon. I thought I'd go out for a break for like a little walk outside with my audiobook before I came back. And I ended up rescuing a puppy. He was just wandering around, he was totally lost, and these cyclists found him and were just like, we don't know who he belongs to. So I ended up walking around with the little one for a little while, trying to find the owner. In the end, I had to take him back to mine because it was quite hot outside and I was worried he was dehydrating, so I wanted to get him some water and stuff. And thankfully, because it's a Sunday here, which means the RSPCA and the dog wardens are not here. They're not around, they don't work at those times, so we'd have to keep him overnight. Thankfully, it turned out the owner lived just down the road from me. And yeah, they came over and they were like, we keep telling her that she needs to have a collar, and I don't know why he's not got a collar. But hopefully she'll give him a collar now. But he was the sweetest little thing. He was this little black terrier called Felix, and he was adorable and the sweetest thing ever. So I had a nice little half hour just chilling with him whilst I was trying to get hold of the RSPCA. Not a nice half hour, but it was not on my bingo card for this afternoon, was to look after a stray pup. So yeah, that was my afternoon. I'm gonna go read some more manga, I guess. Coming at you with an update. I look like trash. I'm sorry, I'm having a bad health day, but I have read some more manga, so I thought I'd at least update about that. I ended up spinning my next one as well, just because I didn't want to get on camera to do it. But I read Vinland Saga, wasn't a fan, unfortunately. It just really wasn't my kind of thing. I can see how, again, it's one that would be very popular, but it was just very action, and I just wasn't crazy about it. So that's going pretty low in the ranking. I then span and I got Our Dreams at Dusk. And I actually really like this one. I only just realised now, I was like looking up the mangaka, and it turns out it's the same author that did Nambari no O, which I also love. It's like a fantasy series, whereas this is like, not BL, it is specifically about a group of presumably LGBTQ people. But yeah, this was really nice. It was kind of like a drama slice of a life kind of thing is the vibe I get from this one. It gives me very like weirdly cozy, calm feels, even though we're dealing with some like kind of rough subject matter. But I like how realistic it was, and I like how it wasn't afraid to tackle a lot of these issues that it feels like I kind of brushed over and like a lot of romances that are LGBT plus, whereas this is not a romance at all. This is a drama. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I'm definitely going to be carrying it on. But yeah, I just thought it was really interesting that I have accidentally already read and loved a manga series, sorry, by this author already. So yeah, I guess I'm gonna roll for my next. Okay, so I have updated my little 1330. This is very satisfying that we're now on the second column. I put Vinland Saga all the way down here at number 15. No wait, sorry, I liked it more than Gantz. Right, there we go. So, we've got Vinland Saga here between Classmates and Gantz. And I've put Our Dreams at Dusk fairly high, to be honest. I was surprised it ended up this high. But I was looking at the ones below it, and honestly, even though I really liked Doubt, I just didn't really love the characters in Doubt. They were very kind of one note, whereas there was a lot more to Our Dreams at Dusk, so I think for that alone it has to go higher. So now we get to roll to see what we're getting next. Here we go. Oh, I finally getting Witch Hat Atelier. Nope, banana fish. So close. Okay, so I finished Banana Fish. As you can see, I gave it a 3. I didn't like it at the beginning, but I got more into it as it went on, thankfully. And I did actually get quite interested in it by the end. But I have a suspicion that if I carry this one on, I'm probably not gonna continue with the manga. I might check out the anime instead. But yeah, overall, it wasn't bad. I didn't love it, but I could definitely see that it could get quite interesting. So I think I'm putting it here. Around 11th place, I think's about right. So on the lower end, just because I didn't think there was a lot going on in that first volume, and it took me a little bit to get my head around what was going on. I'm also just not crazy on like crime and gang stuff. But it was going somewhere interesting, so yeah, I'll probably will carry on. But now that means we get to roll for our next one. Really getting quite low here on the wheel. Let's go. Oh, oh. Okay, so the quintessential quintuplets, which is the only kind of romance harem thing I have on here. They're not usually my thing, but I was just really interested in the characters in this one. I love the designs of all the main girls and that they're all sisters. Essentially what it's about is this guy who I think he has to, they're all really bad at studying, I think, like academics, and he's really smart, so he has to end up tutoring them, and they are quintuplets basically, so there's 5 of them, I think. Is that quintuplets? And like at the very beginning, apparently, like you know he marries one of them, but you don't know which one. So it's kind of like this long going series. It might be finished now. I'm not entirely sure. I'm gonna quickly look actually. But basically, yeah, it's kind of like this hook that goes through the whole series is which of the sisters is the one that he's gonna end up marrying. Again, really not my kind of thing, but I just really like the art for this, and I'm very intrigued by it. I just have good ratings. So yeah, it's called 5 Toba no Hanayomi, so it is 5 sisters. I thought it was pretty good rating, honestly, and I think it's finished. It is finished. Okay, so that does mean he picked somebody. Presumably, if it's finished, it has reached an end, which is always it's always a bit annoying with these kind of harem series, and they, one, never pick somebody, or two, the series is always ongoing. So again, they never pick anybody, but this is finished. Yeah, I'll go read that and I'll let you know what I think. I'm just hoping it's going to be kind of cute and fun. Basically, I'm not expecting great things from it, but I'm hoping I'll have a good time with it. Okay, so this is the new lineup. We'll put in quintessential quintuplets around there. And now let's roll to see what we're going to read next. Ooh. Oshinoko? Oshinoko. Huzzah! Okay, I've been wanting to read this one for quite a while now. It's again one of those that I don't know if I'm gonna like or not. It's essentially like about this idol who ends up, well, she's pregnant as it turns out, and this doctor who's like a big fan of hers helps her give birth, but it's like a big secret thing. And then I assume he dies or something, and he gets reincarnated as as her son. She has twins, the girl and a boy, and I think it then speeds forward to when they're teenagers and they are also becoming idols. It sounds really odd. I think there might be a weird thing going on with his sister as well, like a romance thing, which I really hope doesn't happen. But yeah, I really like the art style for it. I'm just intrigued more than anything. I don't know if I'll like it or not, but I'll try and let you know if it's good or not, I guess.
I'm sorry, but my favorite idol is knocked up. Oh dear.
Hello, update time. So, I realised I didn't actually give you a very good review of my thoughts on quintessential quintuplets. So, I'm here to give you that review as well as my thoughts on Oshinoko. And yeah, like quintessential quintuplets, honestly, it's kind of a typical rom-com in how it's laid out, but I actually really liked both the art and the characters, and I do think the premise is a pretty good hook. So even though like it's not anything amazing, I actually really enjoyed my read of it and I think I would carry on. So yeah, that was nice. Even though it's kind of like it's not a harem, but it kind of plays itself out to be a bit of a harem. It wasn't super fan servicey, which I appreciated. There was a few moments here or there with like one of the sisters, but it wasn't really like that major. And the main guy seems okay. He's just kind of like determined that he's going to teach them basically, and that they'll graduate. So yeah, I actually liked it. I would probably carry on. Then I read Oshinoko. It's got very mixed reviews. I really enjoyed that first volume. It went a lot more emotional and darker than I thought it was going to go. It actually got really sad at some points. Like I kind of saw it coming, but it was this, like slow build up, and you kind of know something's gone wrong, but you don't know exactly what's happened. I'm not going to spoil what it is because it was like a good kind of well done in how it was done. I really liked it. Obviously, I know it's got some things that happen later on that are probably going to put me off reading it. I've heard it goes down an incest route, which I really don't want. Even though it's this weird thing because like I didn't realize, but both of the twins that the idol has are reincarnated. I thought it was just the boy because that's all I've heard about was that it was the boy who had been reincarnated and he was the doctor. And it turns out the girl as well is also reincarnated. I won't say who she is, but it does kind of reveal who that is through the course of the first volume as well. And if that is who it is, I'm also not down for if there's a romance brewing, but I am really intrigued. It's got more of a mystery element to the main storyline, which I also didn't realize was going to be a thing. I really thought it was just going to be almost like fun hijinks, and it's really not like that at all. It really delves into idol culture. It delves into what it's like, the perceptions between media and reality, that kind of thing. And yeah, I actually really liked it. So I think I am going to carry on, but if it starts going down like that kind of incest route, I'm out basically. So let's go put it in the ranking and we'll roll to see what we get next. Okay, so here we are at the ranking, and I think I'm gonna stick it here in the number 5 spot for now, because I did enjoy it more than Flowers of Evil. I think the hook is interesting, but doubt was more my thing. So yeah, we're putting it here, so pretty high actually. Okay, so now let's spin to see what we get next. Oh, is it finally time for Apothecary Diaries? It is! Okay, cool. So I read The Apothecary Diaries and this was really good. Honestly, this was kind of exactly what I thought it was going to be, and I'm really happy that it was because I really enjoyed it. It had really fun characters. It was kind of going, I think there was like 2 or 3 different mysteries that were kind of throughout the course of the story, but none of them were massive. The first one was kind of high stakes, because it was to do with poison, but the latter 2 were more just kind of run-of-the-mill, almost slice of life sort of stuff. But it really showed you a lot about the world that they live in and about the dynamics of court life. And I thought it was really interesting. I'm always really surprised because Mao Mao, who is our main character here, is supposed to be about 17. And I thought she was so much younger. She looks like such a child. This guy, Jinshi, is great as well. He's hilarious. He's kind of, he's involved in the internal court of the emperor, but she doesn't really know why. There's a mystery around that because he doesn't really seem to do much, but then he's kind of tasking her with finding out these various mysteries. So his role is kind of a mystery as well, so I'm hoping we'll find out a little bit more about that in the future. Mao Mao's just a really simple character and she's quite relatable and really funny as well. So yeah, really enjoyed that. We'll definitely carry this one on. I don't know if I'll check it out via the anime or if I'll carry on the manga. I do really like the artwork. So I suspect I probably will carry on via the manga, but I may check out the anime as well. So yeah, really enjoyed this one. I think this is actually going to be pretty high up my list, and I'm glad that, you know, given all the hype I've heard about it, it held up. So yeah, very happy about that. Let's go roll to see what we're going to get next. Okay, so I think I actually liked this well enough that I'm gonna stick it up here in second place. It was really tight between Yu Yu Hakusho and this one, but I think honestly that the mystery of this series is gonna keep me more invested than Yu Yu Hakusho is. So it hasn't quite beaten Summer Hikaru Died, but I am indeed gonna put Apothecary Diaries in its second place. So that is that. Let us now roll the wheel and see what we're going to get next. So few left now. Oh, Frieren. Oh, very good. Okay, so funnily enough, Frieren and Apothecary Diaries are kind of my 2 most anticipated fantasies that's like currently really big at the moment. Excited that I'm now going to go right under Frieren. Frieren is an interesting one. It's another fantasy, but it's kind of telling the story of this girl called Frieren, who's an elf who's been living for quite a long time, and she's seen a lot of sad stuff, I think. Okay, here we go. So as you can see, it's really highly rated right now. It's like currently ranked number 40 in the manga. 8.8, that's crazy. So the full title is Frieren Beyond Journey's End. So, it is currently publishing and it's recently had an anime as well. It's won a couple of prizes too, but basically it is about after the Demon King was defeated, a victorious hero party returns home before disbanding. The 4 Mage Frieren, Hero Himmel, Priest Heiter, and Warrior Eisen reminisce about their decade-long journey as the moment to bid each other farewell arrives. But the passing of time is different for elves. Thus Frieren witnesses her companions slowly pass away one by one. Before his death, Heiter manages to foist a young human apprentice called Fern onto Frieren. Driven by the elf's passion for collecting a myriad of magic spells, the pair embark on a seemingly aimless journey, revisiting the places that the heroes of yore had visited. Along their travels, Frieren slowly confronts her regrets of missed opportunities to form deeper bonds with now deceased comrades. This sounds like it's going to be really sad. Okay, this is Fern. I've seen a lot of art about her around. So, oh, okay, she's the adopted daughter of Heiter? Oh, okay, one of these guys here. So, yeah, I've seen an awful lot of art about this guy called Himmel around. And yeah, I think it's going to be really good. It's going to be very character focused, I think. And I'm just kind of expecting really good things from it and a more somber tone. finished Frieren. Really good. I really enjoyed it. Again, definitely one I'm gonna continue. Maybe also watch the anime because I feel like there was a lot of like little things, like a lot of time passes in just this first volume alone. Like I think we go over about like 30 something years, although it's mainly focused on these like 2 years or so where Frieren is kind of with this girl who she kind of picks up to be her apprentice. And Frieren is just kind of going around different places, getting involved in 5 different magics, and slowly starting to, I guess, learn more about people, and also trying to figure out what all like the past that she spent with her party kind of means to her. And yeah, it was really interesting for sure. It was felt kind of very like slow and soft and slice of life in a good way, and there's a lot of like little moments that are kind of scattered throughout that you only see very briefly, and I feel like in the anime it might go into them a little bit more. I think this is a still ongoing manga. I'm not sure how many volumes there is, but it doesn't feel like a series that would be super long, to be honest, just given how like fast time is already passing, unless they kind of start slowing down and getting a little bit more present in how it's doing things. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was very much like my kind of style. It felt like a very easy to read, almost cozy sort of series, despite the more like somber tone it has going on. But yeah, that was my thoughts on that. I think I'm probably going to rate it pretty high. I think I actually did enjoy it more than Apothecary Diaries. Like, Apothecary Diaries is a lot more vibrant and lively series, but something about this just really kind of hits and resonates quite emotionally. So I think this might be going into second place in the ranking. And with that, let us use the wheel and see what we're going to read next. Okay, so I have put Frieren at number 2, and now let us do the wheel. I've only got 9 left now. We're really in that home stretch. Again, I'm down for kind of anything here, so let's go. Ooh. Okay, Toilet Bound Hanako-kun. This one is a interesting title, but I've heard really good things about it. This one also has an anime, actually, which aired in 2020, but the manga is, I believe, still ongoing. Yeah, it's still ongoing, has been going since 2014. And this is kind of a mystery series, so it's kind of set in like modern day Japan, I believe. And it's set in this academy called Kamame. And there are rumours of supernatural events overrunning it, namely the 7 mysteries. One of these mysteries is the legend of Hanako-san, the ghost of a young girl residing in the girls' bathroom on the 3rd floor of the old school building, who is said to grant any wish her summoner desires. First-year high school student Nene Yashiro daringly summons Hanako-san in desperate need of love, but the Hanako that appears before her is a boy. After Hanako-kun claims he has no magical items of use, Nene tries various ways to get noticed by her crush. With her desperation reaching its peak, she gets into trouble after consuming a mermaid scale, which turns her into a fish. Hanako rescues her, binding their fates together in the process. In return for this aid, Nene must become his assistant. Now entangled in the supernatural realm, Nene soon discovers there's much more to the school's 7 mysteries than basic rumours. That does sound interesting. Also, the main girl, Nene, is so freaking adorable. Look at her, she's so cute. So yeah, it's as bad as the title is, I've heard really good things about this. As you can see, it's got kind of a high rating. So yeah, I'm gonna go read that and I'll let you know what it's like. Quick update because I finished Toilet Bound Hanako-kun. I ended up reading it whilst I was going out today. And yeah, it was quick read, and honestly, I quite liked it. It wasn't anything amazing in terms of the story it was telling, but I liked the characters a lot. I thought it was pretty cute, and it just seems like a kind of fun little like mystery fantasy kind of story with some fun characters. So yeah, I think it's one I'll continue. I'd say it's like somewhere between a 3 and a 4 star. Like I said, it's not the most original thing ever, but I liked it a lot. It made me kind of nostalgic for like older fantasy series that I used to read. So yeah, quite liked that one. And then let's roll to see what we get next. Okay, so we're going to put Hanako-kun at number 8 spot for now. I just found it more enjoyable and fun than Flowers of Evil, so it's going to sit around here. Okay, skip to loafers. So we have another rom-com. So yeah, this is about a girl called Mitsumi Iwakara. She's recently moved from her small backwater town in Ishikawa Prefecture to attend a prestigious high school in Tokyo. Plans on using her high school career as a launchpad for her dream of going to law school and becoming a public servant. However, she also recognises the need to occasionally have fun and make friends. To that end, she has gone so far as to map out her entire life ahead of time, but all of her preparation flies out the window on the first day of school. She misses her train stop and is about to be late to the entrance ceremony, which is especially troublesome because she's supposed to give a speech as the new student's representative. While lamenting her situation, Sosuke Shima, a handsome first-year student who is also late, sees her and offers to walk with her to school. They eventually make it to school, although Mitsumi has some unfortunate accidents soon after that leave a less than favourable impression on everyone. In spite of her misfortune, her classmates soon take notice of Mitsumi and Sosuke's chemistry despite their differing personas. With the new year already off to an interesting start, Mitsumi is eager to get to know her classmates better and get involved at her school. Only time will tell if this country bumpkin can make it to the city, but one thing has become certain, she definitely will not be alone on her journey. Okay, this is different from what I thought it was about. I really thought that this was about a girl who'd come from the country who was really lazy, hence the loafer, and a boy who was kind of hardworking who helped her out, and that is not at all what it's about. So yeah, I guess we'll see. It's apparently an award-winning series. It is still ongoing and has been since 2018, and it does have an anime. But I've still heard good things about this, so even though it's not quite what I thought it was going to be, I'm going to read it and give it a try, and I'll report back once I've read it. So, my thoughts on Skip to Loafer, or Skip and Loafer, I actually can't remember what the title was for it, and it was just kind of fine. It was just a very typical sort of rom-com drama sort of thing. Like, funnily enough, the romance elements were really not the main part of it. At least for the first volume, it was more about this girl getting used to people that are very different to the people that she grew up with, people who kind of aren't particularly honest, people that don't always show their true face initially, and sort of figuring out who could be her true friends. I mean, she didn't do a lot of the figuring out, but like we as the reader kind of figured it out pretty much. So there's this girl who's like pretending to be friendly to her, but really she's trying to like use the main girl to get closer to the guy. And there's this other girl who kind of comes across as being quite standoffish, but actually she's really nice and genuine and likes the main girl like a lot, and there could be a genuine friendship there. So yeah, it was just fine, honestly. It wasn't like the best thing ever, but it was like an easy read kind of thing. So you'll see the rating when I next go into it, but I think I rated it about 3, so nothing too amazing. It was just fine. The art was also just fine. Yeah, that's all I can say about it really. Not the best, but certainly not dreadful either. Okay, so here we go. We're on the last 7 now. Pretty excited by all of these. Maybe not Assassination Classroom. I'm kind of still not sure about that one. But let's roll and see what we're getting. Finally! Yes! Oh, I'm so happy. I've been dying to get to this one. Oh, brilliant. So, Witch Hat Atelier is my next one. Very high ranking, very popular. Surprised it hasn't got an anime yet, honestly. Like, it feels like a lot of these big fantasy series that have been quite popular recently have been getting animes, but this one hasn't yet. Maybe it's just too cozy, I don't know. But yeah, this is a currently ongoing series, and it is about Coco, a humble dressmaker's daughter who has always been fascinated by magic and the witches who cast it, despite the strict precautions they take to hide their methods from the public. However, when Coco takes advantage of a golden chance to spy on the skilled witch Queefrey. Queefrey? I don't know how to say that. She realises that her favourite picture book was a disguised magic book all along. In her excitement, she immediately starts testing out the various spells. Spell causes disaster, Queefrey rescues her and decides to train her. So it looks like they're going to possibly track down something? But she has to train basically to be a witch, I suppose, along with some other people. So yeah, I've heard, again, this is a series I've heard only good things about. Oh wait, adaptation? Is it getting an anime? It is! Oh, it isn't aired yet, but it's getting one. That's exciting. Oh, but someone down here is like, they announced this 2 years ago and nothing has happened, so I guess we'll see. Yeah, hoping I'll like it. It looks super cute and super cozy. So, Witch Hat Atelier, I actually really liked this one. I think this one might be shooting up to pretty high up in my ranking. If anyone's ever read this manga series called The Tarot Cafe, it kind of gave me vibes, even though the story is completely different. But just this kind of like almost magical, whimsical way the story is told. And some of the art as well, honestly, kind of reminded me of that. And it's really nice art. It's very like, it's less anime, I would say. I don't really know how to describe that, but this gives me much more like realistic magical fantasy vibes rather than kind of as anime tropey as I've seen other series. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. It was really solid in terms of the story. It had some like stakes going on, and I was really interested in like the different characters that were also in this, as well as Coco. Coco herself is not like amazing, to be honest, but I can see how she's got this, has this potential for growth. But she's kind of like naive, and that kind of leads her to get into some scrapes and to be taken advantage of by people. And again, we're left on a bit of a cliffhanger at the end of this first volume. So I really liked this, and I think I'll definitely carry it on for sure, because I'm just really intrigued about what's going on. And yeah, it's just got really like, I don't know, something about the art style is just very nostalgic for me. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. Okay, so this is the new list. And we have Witch Hat Atelier here at number 2. And now let us spin the wheel to see what we're gonna get next. So we only have 6. We're really whittling down now. So let's go. Ooh. Oh, that's so close. Go from the other side. Okay, this is one I actually have physically. This was purely a cover buy from me, honestly. I just love the aesthetic of it. This is a finished series. It's called Totsukuni no Shoujo. I honestly don't know a whole lot about it. I just love the artwork of it. So it's 11 volumes long. Quite a high score, actually. 8.34, damn. So it is about, there was a god of light and a god of darkness. While those devoted to the god of light experience happiness and good fortune, the god of darkness would play tricks on the people and steal their joy. And so, as the legend goes, the god of light decided to punish him by turning him into a monster. I guess that's this little guy here. Enraged by this, the god of darkness wielded his punishment as a curse in order to inflict suffering upon others. Because of his actions, he was banished to the outside, where he and his monstrous children are to remain for eternity, while those from the inside must never come in contact with someone from the outside, lest they be cursed of a hideous form. A little girl named Shiva, an insider, is found by an outsider she comes to know as Sensei. Though they cannot touch, Sensei cares for Shiva as best he can, and together they live a moderately happy life. I like how it's like a moderately happy life, not a happy life. But soon, Shiva not only finds herself in danger from the outside, but from her own kind as well. Okay. That is really not at all what I thought it was about, but I'm intrigued. It sounds very like mythical, I guess. So yeah, I'll go read that and let you know my thoughts on it. So I finished The Girl from the Other Side and I actually really liked it. It's very intriguing, I've got to say. Like, it kind of came across as very slice of life stuff for a little while, but then we were seeing some things with like these like knights or soldiers or something who were like collecting bodies, and they were like near this village that had been abandoned, presumably because they destroyed themselves after like one of these cursed ones, which is what this guy here is supposed to be. And these two can't touch because apparently, like, if an outsider touches an insider, which is what the little girl is, they pass the curse on to them. And the ending was like really scary, actually. Yeah, it was very kind of like a more macabre fairy tale kind of thing, is the vibe I got from it. But I did really like it. It gave me like Ancient Magus Bride vibes a little bit, except like she's obviously a lot younger, the little girl. But yeah, I like it. I think I'll definitely continue it. I'm just mostly intrigued to find out more about what on earth is going on in this world, and that ending was quite a cliffhanger. So let us go and rank it, and then we'll roll to see what I go next. Okay, so here we are. This is our 25th manga, and I think I'm putting it here in slot number 10. Not much higher than that because it didn't feel like there was enough going on for me to really understand too much, but I am intrigued for sure and do want to carry this on to see what it's like. And the art was really nice. So yeah, that's where this one's going, and now let us spin the wheel. Here we go, we've only got 5 left. Assassination Classroom, 7 Seeds, Monster, Villains Are Destined to Die, and Wish. Oh, Monster! So this is quite a famous series. It's also had an anime, quite a long series. This is also quite a long manga as well, from what I remember. And it is psychological horror. As you can see, it's rated ridiculously high, 9.16. It's currently number 5 in like all the manga, essentially. 18 volumes long, and it published between 1994 and 2001. It's won a bunch of prizes and stuff. So this is about a renowned Japanese neurosurgeon working in post-war Germany called Kenzo Tenma. He faces a difficult choice: to operate on Johann Liebert, an orphan boy on the verge of death, or on the mayor of Dusseldorf. In the end, Tenma decides to gamble his reputation by saving Johann, effectively leaving the mayor for dead. As a consequence of his actions, hospital director Heinemann strips Tenma of his position, and Heinemann's daughter Eva breaks off their engagement. Disgraced and shunned by his colleagues, Tenma loses all hope of a successful career, that is, until the mysterious killing of Heinemann gives him another chance. 9 years later, Tenma is the head of the surgical department and close to becoming the director himself. Although all seems well for him at first, he soon becomes entangled in a chain of gruesome murders that have taken place throughout Germany. The culprit is a monster, the same one that Tenma saved on that fateful day 9 years ago. So yeah, heard nothing but good things about this, basically. I'm also just looking at the side here, and it amuses me a lot because it says Naoki Urasawa presents horrible story. That's quite funny. So yeah, I've been dying to get to this for ages. I'll check in once I've read it. So, Monster was a really interesting one, and I can really see the hype and why this has got the hype it has. It was really tense, and honestly, it was really interesting with the psychology that you're kind of seeing in here, particularly with the main character. You're seeing him like basically in this world where he's trying to do the right thing, but the people around him are just trying to take advantage of him, essentially, like even down to his girlfriend. And when he does what he thinks is right for him, he basically gets screwed over for it. And it's something that will keep screwing him over, I suspect, for the rest of the series. But it was a really solid start. I can't say the art was amazing. It's much older in style, but again, there's a certain charm to it. And I think it's like good enough that I would happily keep reading this. I was debating if I wanted to watch the anime or read, and I might just try an episode to the anime to see, but I think this is definitely one I would really like to carry on with. It's funny because it's not really something I would have thought I'd have been that into, but I'm actually really liking it. So yeah, I would definitely like to carry this one on. Okay, don't mind me coming at you in my half awake, I just woke up state, but I want to pick my next manga. So, we're gonna also just rank where we're gonna put Monster, and I'm sticking it here at number 6. Fairly high up, I'm very happy about that. Okay, and now with 4 left to go, let's roll to see what we're gonna read. Assassination Classroom. Okay, cool. This is a fairly long series from what I remember. It is finished though. It's the one that I don't know if I'm gonna like or not, to be honest. Like, I like the concept, but from the little like bits and stuff I've seen of the anime, I don't know if it's for me. But I've heard people really raving about it, so I'm gonna give it a shot anyway. It is 21 volumes long, did get an anime, obviously, and it is basically about this like yellow tentacle monster who says he's going to like end the world, but he ends up taking a teaching position at this junior high school, and the students at this high school are basically trying to assassinate the creature. But it seems like this, like the monster just really wants to teach them basically, and I feel like they don't end up wanting to kill him because he becomes a really good teacher. So yeah, it's an interesting concept. I'll let you know what I think after the first volume, I guess. So I don't have the physical copy anymore of Assassination Classroom because it had to go back to the library, but it's not one that I can see myself picking up again, unfortunately. It wasn't bad, but there just wasn't particularly anything stand out that I really liked about it. There were some good comedy moments, mostly with the teacher just making fun of the main characters, but I didn't really think any of like the other characters were particularly stand out. Like, the main character is just kind of bland. And I like that there's a whole thing where it seems like the teacher has specifically chosen this class because they are like the class of rejects that if they don't succeed, they won't graduate. And I feel like he's trying to make sure they graduate, but then you never really get to know the teacher. So you just don't really know what his motives are. And I guess that's kind of the point because they don't really understand either. But it lies way too heavily on the comedy, I think, for me to really be that invested into it. And there was another character who showed up who was like kind of interesting, and then his whole plotline got resolved like really fast. So it feels like he's not really gonna be like a big contender in terms of the plot anymore now. So yeah, it was just okay, and yeah, just not for me, I don't think. So it's gonna be a lowish ranking, I think. I definitely enjoyed Mashal more if we're talking in terms of like shonen series. So I didn't really enjoy Assassination Classroom that much, so it is gonna have to go quite low down, I think. I don't know how to spell assassination, apparently. There we go. It was kind of what I expected, unfortunately. So yeah, here we go. It's sitting at number 22. There was some like funny elements, and again, I think the premise was still good. So I still rated it like not as low down as those other ones, but very much in the lower ranking. So let us now do the wheel, and we'll see what we're reading next. The final 3! The final countdown! We only have left 7 seeds. Villains are destined to die and wish. What's it gonna be? Villains are destined to die! Yes! Oh, I've wanted to be reading this one for so freaking long. I'm so excited to get to this. It's one of my friend's favourite series. Let me just go find some info about it for you. So this is actually based off I think it's based off a webtoon. It's actually a manhwa. Still ongoing. Oh, it's adaptation of a web novel series, originally a webtoon, and is now kind of being published. It's been going since 2020. And yeah, it's kind of playing off that whole thing, like the villainous isekai thing that's going on at the moment. This one has absolutely gorgeous artwork though, so let me tell you what it's about. The latest otome game is all the rage recently, so a regular university student decides to see for herself if its fame is well deserved. She clears the normal mode in no time and finds herself pitying the villainess, Penelope Eckhart. Penelope is a fake, a replacement for the Duke's missing daughter, the protagonist of the game. Initially confident about clearing the hard mode as well, the woman is shocked by the sheer leap in the level of difficulty, eventually passing out from exhaustion. However, when she wakes up, she no longer recognises her surroundings, for she has been reincarnated into the body of the villainess. So far, so standard. I've heard this story before. So yeah, she's just basically trying to keep herself away from the death route that is kind of what the villainess will, yeah, villainous route. But I've heard really good things about this one. The art is gorgeous, and I kind of like that it's a webtoon. So yeah, let's read it, and I'll let you know my thoughts on it. So I read this one last night and it was really fun. I definitely appreciate with this being a webtoon how everything is in full colour. It's just so nice sometimes to read something that's all colour rather than black and white, and it really does work for this because the art and the colours are like so like fitting with the story, I suppose. And yeah, I actually really enjoyed this one. It was super easy to get into. The main character, whilst her whole backstory is kind of over exaggerated, I found her very relatable, and the way she acts throughout this is really funny. Like, it gave me kind of like vibes of Romantic Killer, where even though like you can tell this is supposed to go down a romance route, she is not here for the romance. She is just trying to save her own butt, and she's quite funny in the way she does it. And yeah, it was really interesting. I like again how the other characters, like the male love interests, were not particularly glamorized. Just how risky this whole thing is for her, because if she does the wrong thing, that's it, she's dead basically. I'm interested as well because essentially this is supposed to be like she is doing the villain's route, which is set just before the events of the main story, where the heroine comes in and will obviously like overthrow her, and she doesn't know how much time there is until this heroine comes in and starts wrecking everything. So it's like this like use a race against time, I suppose, for her to like get people on her side basically, so that it won't happen. So yeah, it didn't really explain anything about how she got into this. Like, she was just unconscious and then she was there, so who knows where it's going in terms of her getting back to her own world, if at all. But for now, it's a fun ride, and honestly, like, I had a good time with it, so I would definitely carry this one on. Okay, so annoyingly, I recorded my last two rolls and the recorder decided not to work. So you didn't get the satisfaction of seeing that wheel run out until the end. But we got Seven Seeds as the one we're reading next, which actually sounds super interesting. I didn't really know much about this series. I just thought it was like a sci-fi shoujo. There's so much more to it than that. It's really long. It's 35 volumes. It published from 2001 and then ended around 2017. And then it also got an anime adaptation, which hasn't got good reviews. I feel like maybe it's CGI or something. Also got a radio drama. So basically, this is about this girl called Natsu. She the last thing she remembers is eating her favourite meal with family, but then she wakes up on a sinking ship, is rescued by 3 people, and then they sail onto a deserted island and get there, and it turns out this island is actually Japan. And this meteorite landed, humanity was wiped out, the environment changed, and the government have initiated this project called Seven Seeds, where they basically split a bunch of like healthy young individuals, 7 of them and a guide, and put them into different teams. And Natsu is actually in Team Summer B, who are considered failures by society, which is rough. And they have to find one of these 7 shelters and just try and survive, essentially. Without anyone that they know, because I assume everyone's dead. So yeah, it actually sounds really interesting. I'm really excited for that. And then we're finishing with Wish, which is a Clamp series, which I also didn't really know much about, apparently. It's only 4 volumes long. And I was intrigued by it because it shows up in the Tsubasa Reservoir Chronicles series. And I really thought this was going to be like a typical sort of romance kind of thing. So we have this angel creature called Kohaku, which is possibly non-binary, and Shuichiro, who is just a guy, I think. And he like finds her, but instead of like, he saves her apparently because she's like trapped in a tree, but then he just kind of leaves her alone and goes home. And then she comes find him and tells him that she can grant him, that they can grant him any wish, and he doesn't really want anything because he says he's happy with his life. So they stay with him in the hopes of when he does find something that he wants to wish for, that they can give it him. So it sounds like it's going to be quite slice of life. It also sounds like it's going to be really charming, I think. I was really worried this was going to be like a kind of a dodgy kind of romance kind of thing. Like, I really don't like that trope of like how it is in Showbits, to be honest, where it's like this naive girl who doesn't really know much and has to like be taught and rely on this guy who's just rescued her, essentially. But it doesn't sound like that's going to be like that at all. So, yeah, those are the 2. I'll go read those, come back, tell you my thoughts, and then we'll do the final ranking to see what are the best series and which of the series I didn't like too much from this experiment. So the last 2 I'm going to review in tandem because I read them one after the other, basically. So first, I did read 7 Seeds, and it wasn't as good as I was kind of hoping it was going to be. The plot took a while to get going, I think. I think I really suffered as well because the version that I got was like a fan translation, and it really wasn't done very well. So it was actually kind of a bit hard to read, unfortunately. But I don't know where else to get this series, to be honest. I feel like it's probably out of print because it's so old. And I really didn't like the main girl that much. She, like, it makes a whole point about her being somebody who can't think for herself and doesn't know what to do all the time, and she just relies on other people. And that was basically what she did for pretty much the whole first volume. And it was just really painful to watch. Like, it's hard to root for her because she's just kind of not doing anything. And she's not helping herself, and like, I know this is a really long series, so hopefully she grows a lot. But yeah, it was hard to root for her, and the other 3 characters that we met were interesting enough, but like, one of them they were kind of very tropey, I suppose. Like, I really liked the woman Botan a lot because she was the one who seemed to know what was happening, and I was intrigued by her, and she was trying to keep everyone like in track. And then there's just like the nice guy and the asshole guy. And that's kind of all there is. So there were some interesting elements about what was up with the island they were on. Like, there was these like big carnivorous plants and like these rodents that were terrifying and would eat each other. So there were some interesting world building elements with that. And I do think it's one I would maybe carry on and pick up because I could see there was enough potential for it to get really good. But my gosh, I just found the main character like not good. I just didn't enjoy her. She was kind of intolerable. So yeah, I'll see with that one. I'm not going to give it a massively high rating because I think the characters really did let this one down, but it's definitely got some cool things in there, and it certainly wasn't unreadable. Like, compared to something, nothing really offended me that much, even though there was a whole thing where the asshole guy was like comparing the butts of the girls, because of course. But it was okay, basically. So that was Seven Seeds. And then the last one I read was Wish. And I don't want to end this on like a bit of a downer, but also this one was just kind of okay. It wasn't bad. I didn't really like a lot of the chibification that was going on with a lot of the characters. So essentially, like, there's the angels that come from heaven and they are strong in the daytime, and then at nighttime they kind of revert into this like little chibi-fied chubby form. And then like the people from the underworld do the same thing. And there's just like this like dispute going on between the main angel Kohaku and this other guy Koryu or something, I think his name was. And I've seen Clamp stuff before, and it was very typical that kind of thing, and there just wasn't a lot of depth to it, unfortunately. There was a couple of like hints for greater plot stuff going on. So like the main guy looks suspiciously like the Prince of Hell, and then the Prince of Hell did show up, and it turns out that he's got a whole thing going on with an angel, and it was just a little bit vague, I think, is kind of how it felt. Like, it was fine, but I didn't particularly really like any of the characters, and I feel like it's that type of series that if you don't like Kohaku, then the series is maybe not going to work for you. And I found Kohaku to be fine, but they didn't really have a lot going on other than they're just being really clumsy a lot of the time and getting upset. So yeah, that was that one, I guess. So yeah, shame to end on a bit of a bummer there, but I did overall really enjoy this experience of reading all the manga. I'm glad I managed to get to a lot of series that I've just wanted to get to for years for some of these. So it was really good to get to try a lot of stuff and finally be able to like kind of put some stuff aside and know that it's not for me, and then actually be able to focus on reading some new series that I really like. I've already gone and got volumes 2 and 3 of The Summer Hikaru Died, so I'm definitely going to be carrying this series on. Probably ASAP, to be honest, because I just loved it so much. And yeah, other series I definitely am going to be carrying them on, if not straight away. So let us do the final ranking. So from worst to best for this little experiment, we have at spot number 30, Blame. 29, Gantz. Vinland Saga. Classmates or Dokusai. Spice and Wolf. Assassination Classroom. Seven Seeds. Magical Miracle. Banana Fish. Wish. The Quintessential Quintuplets. A Man and His Cat. Mashal, Magic and Muscles. Blue Period. Skip to Loafer. That brings us to the 15th spot, which is Blood on the Tracks. Then we have Claymore, Flowers of Evil, Girl from the Other Side, Toilet Bound Hanako-kun. And now the 10 to 1 slot. At number 10, Oshinoko. At 9, Doubt. At 8, Our Dreams at Dusk. 7, Monster. 6, Yu Yu Hakusho. And then top 5, the ones I will definitely be carrying on after this video, and you'll hopefully see some updates about them throughout the course of the year. So at number 5 we have Villains Are Destined to Die. At number 4 we have The Apothecary Diaries. At number 3, Frieren, Beyond Journey's End. At number 2, Witch Atelier, which of course means that my number 1 spot is The Summer That Hikaru Died. This did not stay off the number 1 spot as soon as it made it on there. Nothing managed to beat it. Not that the other series are not good, they're great, but I just love this one so much. It's already like becoming a new favourite of mine. So yeah, that is the final ranking. Let me know your thoughts below. Let me know if there's any other series that you think I should check out. Maybe I'll do another one of these in the future, because my manga TBR is just endless. But at least not until I read some of these. So as always, if you managed to stay for the whole of this video, bless you, because I did not expect this to be like 2 hours or something long. But thank you very much for staying with me through it all. I hope maybe you found some new series too that you want to try out. And until the next video, stay safe, stay cozy, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!